Hi everyone. Let's talk about what we want to do this week. Before I get into that, I wanted to quickly again warn you against using the activity stream. Because if you click on the activity stream, it may seem really simple to say, oh, look, there's a quiz that's due. Let me go click on that and I'll go answer these questions real quick, right? And you just click on it. And then you have all these questions that you have no idea what to do with. You've just got pictures and you don't know what's going on. So I try to lead you through the class by helping you find the material that you need. So please go into courses, then go into your course. And once you're in there, go to the course content. Right now, I've set it up in such a way that you're now coming into the announcement window. Click on course content, and then go to this week's assignments, which in this case it's going to be the microscopy lab. And I'm going to make it look so that it looks kind of like what you see. So as usually, you have an overview. I'm recording the walkthrough right here. That's going to be posted right there. There's a little summary of what you're supposed to be doing, but essentially it's the same as usually. You've got a lab handout. When you click on it, you get to the folder that has the lab handouts in it. And I'm going to click on this just so that you see the microscope activity. And the microscope activity starts out by telling you a little bit about the background, all the things you need to know about the microscope. And then I want to point out to you this picture here that shows you, the bits, pieces, and parts of the microscope, some of the actions that you can do with the microscope, and then an explanation of all the activities you're going to do. And there are a lot of different activities. I also want to spend a minute to show you this one right here, because you're going to be asked to mix and match these questions in the question set. If you fill this out in the lab handout first, the question is going to be really simple. Okay, but back to the Blackboard side. So there's a lecture video where I go over the background that's in the lab handout. I explain the whys. I try to say some things in different words. If you have a little hard time understanding it in the lab handout, I may be able to make it a little more palpable in the lecture. So this is time well spent. Spend the time there because it gives you all the information you need for the quizzes and everything you need to do. Then here are the demonstrations, and with the microscopy lab, it's a little difficult because we don't have a microscope, right, where you can actually handle, the things that we would normally handle in the lab. So instead, I'm trying to give you videos that kind of give you an idea of a visual. So this is a microscopy basics, just how to handle a microscope. This is how to make a wet mount. If you like to just kind of understand how the parts go together, watch this one. It's not going to be a requirement, but so if you don't watch this, you're not going to lose much except for the understanding on how you make some of these things happen. Then this one here is a microscope where you can actually do the activity online. So you click on it and then you can go through the activity and you can put a slide on there and focus on it. And so you can get a little bit of the idea of what it's like to have a microscope in your hand and actually work with it. This is a microscope. This was actually better than the other microscope. Unfortunately, it utilized flash, and flash is not being supported anymore. But before it went away, I made a video of what this looked like. And then we're going to get into the activities that you're doing. One of the activities you're going to do is you're going to play. We're basically playing with the functions of the microscope, with the kinds of things it does, how it focuses closer, how the depth of field changes, those kinds of things. And so you do this depth of focus activity with the threads. I have this time the Google site is actually going to be really handy, so just click on it and it'll get you to the microscopy website. Again, it's got a couple of more microscope videos, properties under a wet mount, what happens with the letter E if you focus in more and more. Here's the virtual microscope that you can still use, the depth of focus. And then here, a lot of people have trouble understanding this depth of field thing. And so I made a little video here in hopes that to try to explain it to you better. And then when we do this in the lab, we look at a couple of different prepared slides. So I'm giving you a video of what the prepared slide looks like, and a video of what a paramecium looks like. And then we get to the last one, which is usually the hardest part for everybody, which is the measuring with a microscope. And I'll get to that in just a second. So the activities you're going to do, there's a lecture quiz that just asks you about background information. Then there's a Labster activity about the light microscopy activity. And then there's the question set. And I'm going to jump into the question set real quick, because I think that's going to be helpful. So when we go into the lab handout, it tells you about questions about the letter E, and I go over all of that. Here's the letter, the depth of field question. These I go over in the lecture, basically the answers to this question. And then the hardest one that students find the hardest is this one here, is the measuring with the microscope. And I go over this in the lecture, but I also go over this again, and just give it a shot. Just put numbers in here and then see. And in the quiz, you have multiple choice for what the answer is going to be. But in the because students have such a hard time with this activity, and not this one, but this activity. Because students have such a hard time with them, I give you a number of different things. And one of them you can find, let me show you where you can find it, under info and resources. I have basically a collection of things where I know that students are having issues with, and that's called, it's question and answers page. And this question and answers page, if you click on it, you get straight to it, but I already opened it up. And it goes over these things again. So click on microscopy. And when you click on microscopy, it goes over how to measure with a microscope, how to measure calculate how to do the measurement with a microscope. And here it goes over again how to calculate the stomata in the area of a quarter. I'll point that out to you just because we're going to the genetics lab next. I'm going to show you that there's also some materials about the genetics lab and about the timing of the mitotic cycle. So there's, if you're struggling with this, go watch these videos and see if they'll tell you what you need to do. But that brings us back to the course content. And hang on, I gotta make it visible for me again. Microscopy. And so you're filling out, we've gotten to the lecture quiz, the microscopy activity, the question set is what I've already shown you. And then you're filling out the handout question set, so you're not submitting the handout, but you're filling these questions out here in the form of this quiz. So if you click begin, you're going to get a picture of this microscope, and you're going to match what matches there, and that's from the chart that's in your handout, right? So fill the things out in the handout first, and then you should be very, very easily be able to find these matching things. And then the rest of them, there's just questions about the letter E, questions which direction, different questions about the magnification, and then you get questions about the diameter of the field. So these are where the calculations are coming in. So you're just guessing. Oh, no, you're not guessing, but you should be able to pick which one the right one is. There's a couple of questions where in the lab handout you're being asked a fill in the blank question where you actually have to give the answer. If you have no idea what to even say, go to the quiz. You have all the time in the world to do the quiz. Go to the quiz and figure out which one the right answer may be. So hopefully this is helpful. And that would be the microscopy lab. The there is an additional little tidbit down here, which is completely not necessary if you've got a little extra time on your hand. The story of Antony van Leeuwenhoek is a fascinating story. He is basically the father of microscopy. Um, was the first person who discovered that there were living creatures that were microscopic, and people didn't believe him at first. And he was like, no, really, this stuff is alive. And the church was going, no, it's not. And well, it turns out he was right. It's a fascinating story, and if you have a little bit of a sense of history and those kinds of things, watch it. Take your questions to Slack if you have any questions. I'll gladly answer them there. And I hope this was helpful.